also do custom videos on Fiverr and Buy Me a Coffee. And I'm also on a new site called Tingle Bay, which is being made just for ASMR. Let's just get started. This first one is by Rent-Free Living 2. It's titled, Am I the a-hole for letting my friend's daughter live in our rental property rent-free without asking friends' permission first? When my mother died 15 years ago, I inherited her home. It's smaller than my own house, so my husband and I decided we would rent it out. It's already paid off, so we were making a decent profit off of it. Other important players in this story. My husband and I have been friends with Sam and George since we were in college. We all have kids of similar ages and they are close friends. The relevant children here: our son Henry, 24, Sam's son Kyle, 23, and George's daughter Anne-Marie, 24. Henry and Kyle are in grad school, working part-time. Anne-Marie finished grad school in the spring and recently started her first big girl job, as she calls it. Originally, the three of them were sharing an apartment in the bad part of town. We didn't love that the kids were doing this, but they wanted to be independent and be on their own, and this was all they could afford. After a couple of incidents, however, in the building, I came to the kids with an offer. If they cover the bills on our rental, we won't charge them rent and they can live there. We won't profit off it anymore, but I'm okay with that, if it means the kids have a safe space to live. The kids were on board with this and thanked us. I didn't even think about asking our friends about this, because the kids are all adults. Sam and his wife were cool with this. George, however, is irritated with us. He says one of the reasons Anne-Marie moved out is because he wanted to charge her rent to teach her responsibility, and she said if she was going to pay rent, she may as well have her own space. I pointed out that she will still be responsible for bills. The three of them are splitting the bills evenly, just not rent. He feels like this is spoiling the kids and wants me to not let Anne-Marie live there. I said I'm not going back on this, as that would not be fair. My husband Sam and Sam's wife. My husband Sam and Sam's wife are on my side, though my husband feels like we should have asked George first before offering this to Anne-Marie. I think that's absurd because she is an adult. This is our property, and we can do what we want. But am I being an a-hole by offering this and not running it by George first? No, you are not the a-hole. She's a grown woman. She can make her own decisions. You don't need to run everything by her, Dylan. Like, that's crazy, and I think it's a very kind thing that you've done. It gets them out of a bad part of town. They're still being responsible because they're still having to pay bills. And it also maybe helps them save up a bit so that they can put it towards a future place when they decide to go their own ways. I think it's a very kind thing and a really good deal. This next one is by warm_hospital_1931. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted to my boyfriend saying my books are cringy? So I, 19 female, am dating my boyfriend, 20 male. I recently started rereading the Throne of Glass series. I get really into it when I read books, and I like to talk about it with other people. My boyfriend doesn't read books that often. However, he does talk about his hobbies a lot, and I listen because he enjoys them, and I want to show that I care about his interests. So yesterday, him and I were on a call playing video games together, and I'm talking about my book. I'm telling him about how a certain character is haunting the narrative. He then says, I don't really care, it's really cringe. That really hurt my feelings and made me really unmotivated to keep reading the books. I went quiet for the rest of the game. I then told him I was gonna get off, and he asked me if everything was okay. I said it was, which is where I admit I should have told him that I was upset, but I just needed some time to process how I was feeling. I texted him a little later and asked him how he would feel if he was talking about something he enjoyed, and I said I didn't care and found it dumb, as a way to try and get him to understand where I was coming from. In response, he said he meant cringy as in like a child movie. Children's movie. I told him that it felt really shitty that he would say that about something I enjoyed, to which he promptly denied, saying he didn't care. I told him back exactly what he had said, and then he admitted that's what he said. He added that he meant it as, I haven't read it and don't plan to, so I don't have any context to care. I told him because of how he worded it, that's how I was going to process it, to which he left me undelivered until the next morning. He then gave an apology and said he thought he worded it differently. Coming up to where this is currently, he didn't really message all day, so I kinda knew he was upset with me, and when I asked, he admitted that he was. When I asked why, he said that my reaction didn't really equal what happened, and then added, this is a direct copy and paste, and immediately going into an emotional response instead of thinking it another way or asking. That second part feels really like he's trying to deflect the blame back onto me. I've asked him to talk about that part later. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted? Edit. I'll add that he also interrupted what I was saying to tell me he didn't care and that it was cringy. Edit 2. He's normally really good with me in reading. He'll take me to bookstores to look around and such. Sure, he'll make the occasional joke, but this is the first time This next story is by negative-remote-4711. It's titled, Will I Be the A-hole If I Told My Friend That I Was the Anonymous Person Who Paid His vet bills? A few years ago, my friend George had a lot of debt and couldn't afford for his dog to have surgery. He finally was going to do it and pay for it on credit cards. The morning of the surgery, I called the animal hospital and paid for everything and told them to please keep it anonymous. I had offered my friend before and he was too proud to accept. A few weeks later I saw him and he brought it up and asked if it was me. My boyfriend at the time, now ex-boyfriend, John, immediately jumped in with a yes, we paid for it. John made a big show of it and definitely insinuated that he had made the decision to pay and paid most, if not all, of the cost. In reality, he has paid zero and also was pretty against how I spent my own money. I didn't say anything at the time as it would have been awkward, and I already felt uncomfortable since I was planning to be anonymous forever. It's years later now. I still see George and John through our mutual friends once in a while. George will still bring up to John how grateful he is for him covering the medical bills that time. And John is always saying something like, "It's my pleasure. This really bothers me. I know I was planning to be anonymous, so it shouldn't bother me. But I feel like John is taking credit for something he had not earned. So much time has passed that I think I might be an a-hole to bring it all up again the next time this happens. I feel very small inside for even caring. Will I be the a-hole?" Definitely not. Again, I'm just gonna read the top comment because I think they've perfectly put into words. Not the a-hole. I think you should tell. Not to take credit, but because who knows how John is holding this over George, or cashing in on his generous reputation to manipulate other people. If he's slimy enough to do this, he's probably slimy enough to pull a "you owe me bro" at any opportunity. Even if he's not doing this, George might really be putting himself out to make it up to this snake. I would want to know if a friend of mine sucked this much. The OP then replied, "That's a great point. John was incredibly manipulative and financially abusive during our relationship." So yeah, definitely you will not be the a-hole. The friend needs to know that John isn't this amazing hero that he thinks he is. Because even if John isn't being like, "Oh, I did this for you, blah 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 blah," George might be doing stuff for John, or maybe getting him really expensive gifts here and there, or just really going out of his way to kind of spoil him in a way as a thank you, when John doesn't deserve it because he actually did nothing. This next story is by Comprehensive Bad 603. was just on my phone, minding my own business. I looked up from my phone for a second, and the guy was standing up completely shirtless, right in the middle of changing his shirt. It was really awkward, and I didn't want to make them uncomfortable, so I immediately looked away, turned my body 90 degrees to the right, and just stared at my phone to give them privacy. I stayed like that for about 5 minutes. Then I turned back to face forward. As I was turning, I accidentally glanced over, and just my luck, his girlfriend was now changing her audio shirt. I instantly looked straight down at my phone and was texting a friend. A minute later, the guy reaches over, touches my leg to get my attention, and says something like, "Look down," basically accusing me of staring. I was shocked and pretty angry, and I just replied, "I'm on my phone." He went quiet after that, but I was furious for the rest of the ride. I was trying to be polite and look away, and I still got accused. I was angry enough to want to fight him, but I knew it would be a terrible idea and I'd be the one who got in trouble. Am I the a-hole here? Did I do something wrong? Absolutely not. That's insane. Sorry about my dog. Someone at the top said the correct response would have been, don't fucking touch me and get a room if you want privacy. Which, yeah, like, don't touch me for a start, and also, why are you changing in the middle of a public vehicle if you don't want anyone to see you? Like, the person wasn't staring for a start, and also it's very weird to do that. Like, you could be making people feel very uncomfortable or even unsafe. Like, don't do that. The next one is by vivid_benefit_7220. It's titled. Okay, this next story is by vivid_benefit_7220. It is titled, "Am I the a-hole for having a bookshelf in my apartment?" I've been living in my apartment for over a year, and I have a tall tree-style bookshelf tucked neatly into a corner near the entrance. It's pressed up against 2 walls, doesn't stick out into the walkway, and has never been an issue with previous roommates. Since it's loaded with books, it will tilt unless it's pressed against 2 walls. This is a tiny 300 square foot apartment, and that corner has always been the safest spot for it. When new roommates moved in, one of them, Lizzie, decided my bookshelf is certainly a safety hazard. She claims she often stumbles greatly in the wide entrance because of low blood sugar. She is diabetic. The shelf shakes when she stumbles into it, and it could fall on her. She wants a coat rack in the same corner. I tested it myself, and even when I'm really pushing on it and did a fake stumble, it reacts acts like any piece of furniture would when stumbled into. I explained that the bookshelf is safest where it is, but she's welcome to move it if she finds a safe spot. There aren't any corners left, since she took them up with her furniture, so moving it elsewhere would be less safe. She started belittling me again, then asked to talk it out in person. Conversations with Lizzie are rarely discussions. She makes demands and expects compliance, often belittling me and dismissing boundaries in favor of her preferences. Due to this, I said I wasn't comfortable because previous interactions had been one-sided and overly demanding. She argued about discussing shared responsibilities without being labeled difficult, and I stopped responding. The next day, another roommate, Carol, suggested using the corner for a coat rack in the group chat. I declined again, pointing out that the bookshelf is in the safest spot, and offered if they could find a safe corner elsewhere, they could move it. The spots they suggested were in open spaces, so I again reiterated the safety issue. They started belittling me and demanded a meeting. When I said I preferred messaging, they cited majority rules, to which I responded that majority rules don't override personal boundaries. Lizzie reported me to the apartment's general manager, claiming I'm refusing to move the bookshelf and questioning my ability to make sound decisions because of my mental health history. She claims I'm unstable and overly stressed due to my job, teaching, so I should be monitored. She even said she would have called my emergency contacts if she had access, despite me never having a panic attack or exhibiting unsafe behavior. The manager saw photos of the bookshelf and my messages and agreed it's tucked in a corner, not a safety hazard, and that I offered them the chance to move it. He even entered the apartment to look at it in person. Still, he wants to have a house meeting with him present. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for keeping a perfectly safe bookshelf in a corner, despite my new roommates insisting it's a hazard and reporting me because of my mental health? Somebody in the comments said, some points to bring out at your meeting. The shelf is out of the way. You are willing to screw it into the wall if allowed by landlord. Aesthetic preferences. This because they want a coat rack. Do not mean your shelf is a liability. Your roommate is responsible for her own medical issues, and you are willing to reasonably accommodate by securing the shelf to the wall. Your shelf predates their occupancy of the apartment. They knew of it when they moved in. Your roommate endangered you and your job by making false accusations.  10 questions about your mental health and cognitive abilities. Your roommate endangered you and your job by making false accusations about your mental health and cognitive abilities. Your roommate endangered you and your job by making false accusations about your mental health and cognitive abilities. Your roommate endangered you and your job by making false accusations about your mental health and cognitive abilities. Your roommate endangered you and your job by making false accusations about your mental health and cognitive abilities. Your roommate endangered you and your job by making false accusations about your mental health and cognitive abilities. Your roommate endangered you and your job by making false accusations about your mental health and cognitive abilities. Your roommate endangered you and your job by making false accusations about your mental health and cognitive abilities. Your roommate endangered you and your job by making false accusations about your mental health and cognitive abilities. Your roommate endangered you and your job by making false accusations about your mental health and cognitive only because she did not get her way. If this occurs again, you plan on acting as these are defamatory allegations. A cut rack could also technically be a hazard, as your roommate could fall, trip on the coats, and then injure herself. So yeah, definitely not the a-hole. I mean, what more do they want? You know, if that's the safest place for her, she just sounds like she's kind of throwing a hissy fit because she's not getting her own way, which is wanting a coat rack there instead. She's come in and already taken up a lot of the other space in the apartment, like she's taken up all the other corners and stuff. She just wants everything her way, and she needs to realize that sharing a space with other people means you do not get to make these sole decisions. Okay, this next one, I think this is gonna be the last one for tonight. My dog is starting to snore a bit louder, and I just don't want that to annoy you guys. Also, I have quite a few things to do today, so I can't make a longer video, unfortunately. Anyway, this one is by Turquoise Dragon. Wow. It is titled, Am I the a-hole for eating a whole donut that was brought into work as a reward/birthday party? So, this has happened at 2 different places I work in. Someone or the boss brings in donuts, normal sized and not cut up, to work as a reward to the workers. I am sitting in the lunchroom and took one whole donut, and my boss got angry and started cutting them all in half. Another time, someone brought in donuts and different desserts on a plate, and since it was a late afternoon when I started my shift, I assumed people had got what they needed and took one whole donut from the plate. Someone gave me a look in surprise, and I feel guilty now. I just felt like if you bring in desserts or food, if you want people to only have a certain amount, cut it up first and not serve a whole donut or piece of cake on a plate for people to take. It makes me think it's acceptable to take a whole one. The top comment is not the a-hole. The normal portion unit for donuts is a donut, and yeah, that's completely correct. That's very weird. If you don't want people to have an entire portion, then yeah, cut it up preemptively, because I'm sorry, but if somebody brought like a box of donuts into work for people to take, there is not a single thought in my mind that would assume, oh, I'm supposed to only take a bit of the donut. I would think I'm supposed to take a whole donut. That's what you do. It's like if someone brings in a platter of cupcakes, you take one cupcake. You don't cut a cupcake in half. So they need to be more clear about what they want people to do or whatever. Somebody else said that they cut them in half at work, but then take 2 halves from different donuts. That way you get to try more flavors. So that they cut them in half just so that people can try more flavors if they wish, but they're more than welcome to just take 2 halves of the same donut. enjoy